Hey guys, it's Honey Badger. Just after a little bit of a vacation, you guys saw that video, I've been busy doing a lot of stuff inside the house, remodeling. I kind of got behind, so I apologize for that, but hey, we're back at it. We're gonna start working on this motorcycle today. I'll walk you around the parts we got, and we're gonna start putting those on, see how far we get. I'm hoping to get it all done today, but I think it's gonna end up in one more episode, but we'll see how well it goes together. Here we go. Alrighty, we've got all the parts laid out. We got the new intake manifolds. We have new hoses here. These are new quick release hoses. I mentioned those earlier that those are plastic. So those were used, they're not new. I got those quite a good discount on those. You saw the fuel injector tested on that. We got the coil here, and actually that belongs in this box right here, is the coil. Alright, the new replacement coil is here. It's all done, so that matches that current one. Take the shiny one and replace that. Don't need that box. Alright, we got some new gaskets for the valve covers. We had to take those off. It's been a long time since I had those off, so we're going to put them back on with new gaskets. We got some O-rings here for the throttle bodies and fuel injectors. We'll talk about that later. I'm going to clean this fuel filter. We got some new spark plugs, and we also got some new leads. So hopefully between all this stuff, I didn't throw a lot of parts at it, but I think what we had is a bad coil and one bad lead. So we'll see how that works out. We'll start putting it all back together and go from there. Alrighty, we want to take some gaskets off and start refresh that in, and we'll put this valve cover back on. These little picks, like I showed earlier, super cheap. I think they were $2 at Harbor Freight. Great little picks, great for using things. Super stiff and brittle. We don't need those. Ooh, brand new BMW parts. Alrighty, what we're going to do is we have to replace these seals on this valve cover. So the way to do that is you have to pop these out. Now this one that came out easily was a new one I just test fit. Now this other is you have to push out, we're going to have to push out with a socket and kind of beat it out. There's probably some special BMW tool for that. I don't have that, but we're going to use it this way. We're going to use a deep socket for those that are learning out here, and we're going to push that down on here, and then that should push that rubber piece out. Eight dry gaskets. Nasty. Alrighty, what I'm doing here is I'm taking a socket and using it to push the gasket over the bolt that has a collar on it.
What did you do chipping with without having to take it off? Okay, I did not do it the way night shift did it because I I'm trying something new, so I kind of feel good about that.
All right, when you're tightening around this valve cover, or any valve cover, you want to go around in a circular pattern, or if they give you a pattern, they should be able to show you which bolts need to go in according to your manufacturer. According to the manufacturer's instructions, there is none, but what we're going to do is tighten these up per the 8 Newton meters that are required for this. All right, here we go. According to the manufacturer's instructions, we have to set this to 8 Newton meters. Luckily, that's what the lowest this thing will go. So we'll use this to set these and torque these down to make sure it's all good. Simple as that. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to put the throttle bodies back together. I got some gaskets placed in a place called O-Rings and More. I'm going to put a link down below. They're much cheaper than the BMW parts from their prices. If you want to find out what size O-ring you need, you just go to the manufacturer's microfiche and use that to get that size of O-ring. All right, now we're going to put the O-ring on the fuel injectors. Oop, I got to put some safety gear on, put some gloves on. I'm going to use some white lithium grease to help the aid of putting the O-rings on. So make sure, for those new people out there, use the rubber glove to protect yourself against the grease. Safety first. White lithium grease. Helps aid to put the O-rings on in place, and it will be okay to help slide everything else in. All right, these are going to be the O-rings for the throttle bodies, connection to the air filter box. And just a dab, that's all we really need. Times 2. All right, a little bit of lubricant so that it slides in the airbox good. All right, now a little bit O-ring lubrication so we can put those O-rings on the fuel injectors. And then we're going to slide it right in the fuel injector. It pops right in. Same thing for the other side. Snug fit, pops right in. Make sure you orient the fuel injectors line the right way. Basically, you want it up so the fuel injector cable can go in first. All right, got a T-handle for Allen wrench to put the bracket to hold the fuel injector on. It'll pop right in. Previous episode, you guys saw me repaint these things so they're nice and pretty. Just like that. Pretty straightforward to pop those things back in. T-handle Allen for those new people out there. Good and tight, just nice and snug. We'll repeat it for the other side. All right, turning those fuel injectors the right way, make sure they angled right. Alrighty, time to put the throttle body sensor on. We're We're gonna put a little bit of lubricant on the O-ring that goes in there to protect it like we have everything else. Help go in. Should pop just right in there. Get it lined up for the alignment marks right there. That's where it was for the beginning. Grab our T-handle. Throw some Allen wrench bolts in there. Alrighty, this is a little bit of lubricant again. These are the O-rings that go over the fuel injectors, the tops of them there. Now these will go against the fuel rail, and that'll help pop it in when I go to install it later on the bike. Alright, cleaned up a little bit. Alrighty, fully assembled throttle bodies. Alright, what we're going to do is try to put this coil in here, get this in place, and then go from there. You want to make sure you hear a nice click when you put these in, otherwise you're not sure that you got a good connection. Good click. Now comes the challenging part. Get these in here. Alrighty, we're putting this intake manifold gasket on. Put these in. New screw up here that was missing for whatever reason. These are new used gaskets. These are off of a newer motorcycle that was only about 5 years old. So hopefully these are better than what was on there. So that'll work. We're going to use torque wrench again to tighten these up to 8 Newton meters. And make sure you always follow your manufacturer's instructions for your torqueness. Say hello to the geese, they're headed to the pond.
It's the date mapping of the 20s, 30s, 40s that I've ever seen, and it was just fascinating to see. And after he retired, he increased.
Okay, now what we're gonna do is get this throttle body in there, as well as we gotta get this tube inside the boxes here as well, and get it all lined up, make sure they're nice and pretty. Now, when you saw me take it apart, it was a fight, but shouldn't be much of a fight this time because I'll have everything lubricated and it should slip in easily. Now, the little secret here is to get these throttle cables on before you even try to put this in position, otherwise you'll fight it and it just isn't fun. It's just from experience. Put it on beforehand, spin it around and put it in. We'll also put a little bit of lubricant on here before you put the fuel injector line on there as well. All right, here we go. Imagine trying to do this on the backside. That ain't happening. Now I didn't match these throttles, and I didn't match where the throttle cables were, so what we're going to do is we're just going to set a generic setting, and then we'll go from there. We'll make a match and start from there. But you can have adjustment for either throttle on each side to synchronize those. That's what we're not going to cover under this video. We just want to see if we can get this thing started. At least started easier than it was starting. All right, there we go. Got that in. Now what we're going to do is put a little bit of lubricant here, a little bit of lubricant there. Again, my favorite lubricant, a little lithium grease. Put that in here. Pump that out. And we'll just stick this in here like so. Look at that, so much easier than it was before. All right, like I said earlier, we're gonna clean off this a little bit earlier. A little bit of brake clean. If I had some electrical cleaner, which I just still haven't got around to getting, I'll use that, but instead I'll use this instead. Clean that out, make sure everything's nice and clean in there. grab my air line. Ooh, careful, little gasket. All right, what we're gonna do is take a little tab of dielectric grease. So that grease will allow for good conductivity. We already cleaned that off, you saw in the previous video. We'll connect that up there like so. Nice connection. All right, we got everything set the way we want it. Got that on there. We'll do the same thing here for this fuel injector. Itsy bitsy, little bit of dielectric grease in there. All right, we'll connect that up to make it idiot proof for guys like me. It only goes on one way. All right, so we got it all in there nice and set. Well, all we got left is this ground wire underneath here. All right, since I had a little bit of problem with this motorcycle, I didn't know what it was, and this is a ground. We're just gonna scrape this ground nice and shiny. We scrape off any oxidation or anything that's on here. So we've got a nice shiny ground. Do it on both sides. All right, we'll also scrape on the back side here. Move the throttle body. And then this nut will work fine as well. Ground, I don't know if that was a problem, but it sure as heck ain't gonna hurt it. Ooh, too small. I guess I wish it'd be eye protection, but I got the glasses. If you don't have glasses, maybe you should wear eye protection if you're spraying into there. Now I personally like to tuck these out of the way if I can, just enough that I can see them and get access to them, but they're not sticking out in the open. So it's just kind of an aesthetic thing for me. Also prevents you from catching your fingers and stuff like that when you're working on those. All right, so next on the list is spark plugs. So those of you new to the channel don't know that I'm actually building this garage and it's not fully equipped, or I'm building it as I go. So if I had some anti-seize, I would put it on here, which I don't, but I'm just gonna put this sucker in there anyways, just so I can see how this works and get a test on it. So I'm just gonna put a tad bit of grease on here, that way I can get it in and out easily. And then when I have a chance to get to the store, I'll buy some electric cleaner as well as some anti-seize. So we'll put that in there. You always wanna put something on there because this is a steel item, aluminum heads. You always wanna put some type of anti-seize on there to prevent that happening. This particular case, I'm using grease as a short-term basis. It's not gonna go through a lot of heat cycles. It might go through 1 or 2 heat cycles at max, but do not just put grease in there. You'll wanna use anti-seize. Spark plugs, you always wanna put in by hand if you can, because you'll have a better chance of not stripping things out, and you also have a feeling if it's going in wrong. And it's very hard to strip things out by hand only. So once it's in there, then you can start tightening down. This handy spark plug wrench is provided by BMW, and this is what's coming out of the toolkit. I've never actually spent the money for a thin-walled spark plug socket wrench for it. I just always use the one out of the toolkit because it's easy and it makes it go in easy, etc. And like I said, it's pretty hard to strip something out if you're doing it by hand. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty hard to do. All right, there we go. Good and tight. There's actually actually a torque spec for that, but since I don't have a socket, I'm not gonna be able to tighten it down per the socket for it. You wanna hear that nice click, and actually, I put this in wrong, flip it over, it goes this direction, out the back, click that in there. There you go. When I get some anti-seize, I'll put some anti-seize on that other spark plug, on the spark plug. I'll also put some dielectric grease on the socket and the spark plug, but I want to just see how we're at to get going. All right, guys, that's all it's going to be for today. We're going to knock off early. It might be a short segment. I'm just missing some fuel lines that I was expecting. I thought I had, but I don't have in stock, so I gotta go get some of those. I can't start that motorcycle without some fuel, so that's that whole fire triangle thing. So sorry about that. We're gonna get the motorcycle going after that. Additionally, there's a little bit of noise. The good news is the noise was from the kids outside playing. That means spring's coming. They're out there having fun. I just have to learn to adjust my recording times around them playing, so before they get home from school. Appreciate you guys for watching tonight. If you like what you see, hit the like button. If you really like it, please spread the word about Honey Badger and let people know what I'm doing. Share it with your friends so I can build up my subscribership. Speaking of subscribe, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Additionally, don't forget to check out my Instagram channel. I'll let you guys know what's going on there as well. We're gonna get going back at it next week and get things going. Oil change for the used beginners out there. We're gonna do an oil change on my pickup, show you how to do that properly, and go from there. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Talk to you guys later.